Hey, I was re-listening to the July 2019 JW broadcasting. I really got interested in the word presumptuous or presumptuousness. And Kenneth Cook was talking about that around minute 9. He was quoting Proverbs 11:2, which no other translations have the word presumptuous or presumptuousness. They have the word pride. So I don't know if they use that for a certain reason. Well, I do think they use it for a certain reason. He said a presumptuous person runs ahead without the authority to do so. Presumptuous can cause us to lose God's favor. And he portrays that as the opposite of modesty or humility. Um, I looked up presumptuous on the online library, and it said things like not authorized. You're doing things not authorized, independent spirit, not recognizing our dependence on the organization, statement like keep your place in the theocratic organization. They do have a lot of references also to ones throughout the Old Testament, especially that went against or ahead of or didn't even recognize the authority of God's appointed king or prophet. So to me, I've read their publications for long enough that when I heard them using that word presumptuous or presumptuousness, I'm thinking right away, people that go against the organization or think an unauthorized thought or talk to people about it. And see how he used the word runs ahead. A presumptuous person runs ahead. Runs ahead of what? What are people thinking when they hear that? Runs ahead of the chariot, right? Without the authority to do so like they have, right? And then the fear, it can cause us to lose God's favor. So sometimes they say things where there's a lot built into it, but it's not as overt. So also, I found another really interesting thing related to presumptuousness. Believe it or not, the Insight book has a section on the word presumptuousness. So I found this kind of really ironic. There's a section here in that article. When a person acts presumptuously toward God, he is showing disrespect for Jehovah's sovereignty and godship. Those claiming to be his servants and misrepresenting him are most reprehensible. Of the false prophets, Jehovah said, the prophet who presumes to speak in my name a word that I have not commanded him to speak, that prophet must die. When the prophet speaks in the name of Jehovah and the word does not occur or come true, with presumptuous, the prophet spoke it. So it's talking about, of course, is quoting Deuteronomy 18:20 through 22. And it is so ironic they use that word presumptuous to describe people who won't obey them unconditionally. But if you go by the Bible's arrangement of what's presumptuous and how to look at them and how to be warned by them, well, they fit that exact description, don't they? They've spoken so many things that now they admit Jehovah did not command them to speak, that they said was meat in due season from Jehovah, and all those kind of phrases they use, right? Then I also found something else interesting. This is in the Watchtower, February 1st, 1955, page 76 to 79. It's talking about the clergy speaking against them. And it says, their voice has become more than just a whisper, for now bold words they speak in many places to the effect that the teachings we give the people are out of harmony with the Bible and that our position as spokesmen for Christ is presumptuous. So they were accused of being presumptuous. And then it's also interesting that Jeffrey Jackson used that terminology when he made his famous statement about being the only channel, that would seem to be presumptuous. Another thing I've noticed over the years is how often when they mention the Bible, they say, and the publications. or the spiritual food, the Bible and the spiritual food, or the Bible-based publications. In this talk, in this broadcast, they did that twice. At minute 17, he talks about 1 Corinthians 4:6, do not go beyond the things that are written. And then he says, this refers primarily to the things that are within God's word. By extension, the principle also applies to the scriptural direction we receive from our publications. No, it probably doesn't mean that, but anyway. Then at minute 17, he talked about direct our attention to the counsel found in the Bible and our Bible-based publications. So you can see how they really put them on the same level. But when talking to an outsider, they're not going to talk about that. They're going to say it's all based on the Bible, They're not going to express that they really are on the same level. And it reminds me so much of Seventh-day Adventism, who says their stuff is all based on the Bible, but they hold Ellen White as the divine interpreter of the Bible. So it just reminds me of that. It's really similar. So anyway, that's about it. Talk to you later.